Let's talk about this situation clearly, because many people are confused about who actually cheated first in this situation involving Remy Ma, Papoose, Easy the Block Captain, and Claressa Shields. Right now, a large part of the online criticism has been directed at Remy. Many viewers have labeled her as the person who betrayed the relationship and painted her as the villain of the story. She has been described as disloyal while others involved have received far less blame. However, when you take a step back and look closely, the situation may not be as simple as people think. Instead of arguing based on emotions or personal opinions, it makes more sense to examine the timeline. When we focus on when certain conversations began, who was already communicating privately, and what events were happening at the same time, the popular version of the story begins to look less clear. The dominant online narrative claims that Remy became involved with Easy the Block Captain after learning that Papoose was seeing Claressa Shields. In this version, she is described as acting out of jealousy, insecurity, or anger. Many people quickly assumed that she reacted emotionally once she realized her husband was spending time with someone younger and successful, and that assumption shaped how the entire situation has been discussed. But the real question is whether that timeline is accurate. If certain relationships or conversations had already started before the public became aware of them, then the story people are repeating might not reflect what truly happened. Once a narrative becomes popular online, it often spreads quickly, and many people accept it without checking the sequence of events. That is why understanding the order of what happened matters. Before deciding who reacted first or who is responsible, it is important to look carefully at what was already taking place behind the scenes.
When he realized that a regular that can rap, but just not the way we do it. By the way, he makes $50,000 per battle, has about 5-6 battles a year, so he makes at least $250,000 a year. You understand? Great credit score. I never seen a person with a credit score like this in my life, like the richest people that I've been around. But anyway, unlike some people who beg me to add their name to one of my properties and I have a lien on it because they don't pay their taxes. He couldn't believe, he couldn't fathom why him. So while he's sitting there, she was saying, why Hitman, why Goods? Why you lying? You was devastated that a regular that used to work for sanitation, got a pension plan, got a 401k, that happens to rap, was able to calm your manipulation, was able to treat me nice. Not just because the camera's on, not just because people are watching, but because he genuinely felt like that. Not because I was paying his bills, not because I was taking care of his kids. None of that. None of that. And then after I created my battle league, Chrome 23, I hope to make another battle league that's popping. He signed himself to, he literally that day signed himself to Slit Your Wrist Records.
Wait a moment. Let's slow down and really look at what Remy is saying, because sometimes people reveal a lot without loudly trying to prove anything. If you listen carefully, she is not focusing on revenge or attacking anyone. Instead, she talks about how she is being treated in her current relationship. She mentions that Easy the Block Captain respects her, treats her kindly, and does not depend on her financially. That detail matters because she is not trying to show off. She is simply correcting the idea that she is supporting another man or carrying someone who is not pulling his own weight. Remy has always been known as someone who works hard. She has built businesses, helped launch entertainment projects, and created opportunities for others. Women operating at that level usually do not have time for constant drama. They are focused on stability, respect, and emotional peace. When someone reaches a stage where they are managing companies, partnerships, and public responsibilities, the last thing they want is chaos in their personal life. That is why many people believe her comments were less about bragging and more about clearing up misconceptions. There is also a larger conversation here about relationships. Many women are willing to support their partners through difficult times. They help financially, emotionally, and sometimes even protect a partner's reputation when things go wrong. However, cheating often becomes the breaking point. It is not always the only issue in a relationship, but it is the moment that makes many people feel everything else they sacrificed was ignored. When someone is working hard, building a future, and still ends up feeling embarrassed or disrespected, it becomes difficult to continue pretending everything is fine. To understand why the backlash unfolded the way it did, we have to look carefully at the timeline instead of repeating headlines. At one point, rumors spread that Papoose had confronted Easy the block captain, and that his marriage with Remy was already falling apart. Once those rumors circulated, many people quickly blamed Remy. She was described as the person who ruined the relationship, and some online discussions framed her as the one who broke the idea of perfect loyalty that people associated with the couple. Things changed in late 2024 when Remy shared text messages that she said showed communication between Papoose and Claressa Shields. According to what was discussed online, those messages suggested that the situation was more complicated than people first believed. Instead of showing a clear victory for anyone, the screenshots created more questions about when certain conversations actually started and how long different connections had been developing. Another detail that caught people's attention was the timeline reaching back to 2020. Around that time, Remy and Claressa were reportedly communicating in a friendly way online. They exchanged supportive messages, and at least publicly, there was no visible tension between them. This is important because during that same period, Claressa was in another relationship, and Remy and Papoose were still presenting themselves as a married couple working through personal challenges. When different timelines overlap like that, it becomes harder to present a simple story where only one person is responsible. Later discussions suggested that Remy and Easy's relationship began around 2022, which was also the period when she and Papoose were reportedly no longer living as a traditional couple. Without context, people assumed that Remy's involvement with someone else happened first. But when older messages and rumors of other connections surfaced, the situation started to look less like a sudden reaction and more like a long period of problems building behind the scenes. Remy also claimed that there were additional women involved in Papoose's life, which added to the perception that the relationship had been unstable for some time. Whether every rumor is accurate or not, the existence of multiple timelines made it difficult for people to agree on a single version of events. Instead of a straightforward story, the situation began to look like several overlapping relationships, misunderstandings, and private conflicts that later became public. As the drama continued, social media discussions became louder, with different sides defending different people. Claressa responded publicly at times, while Remy shared her own explanations. Meanwhile, some individuals involved stepped back from the spotlight, allowing the conversation to continue without clear closure. That silence made people even more curious, and speculation only increased. When you step back and look at the entire sequence, the main issue is not simply who looks better or worse. The real question is when the boundaries of the marriage were first crossed, and who had already moved on emotionally before the public realized anything was wrong. Once you consider earlier messages, long-term tensions, and private separations that were not widely known, the situation becomes far more complicated than the original headlines suggested. This is why timelines matter. People often react quickly to dramatic stories, especially when they involve public figures, but early assumptions are not always accurate. Relationships can be breaking down quietly long before anyone outside the couple knows what is happening. By the time the public notices, many decisions have already been made, and the visible conflict is only the final stage of a much longer process.
With my family, you know what I'm saying? I get to spend so much time with my amazing wife and my amazing daughter, and I'm just making the best out of it, you know what I'm saying? And we moving forward. And some good things are actually coming out of this. You know, we're going to have a new child real soon, you know?
Another one.
So, yes.
Well,
so, you know,
wow, congratulations.
Yes.
I
So I'm feeling real good.
A lot of quarantine, baby.
That Shakur Stevenson fight.
Yeah.
And then
You shook her hand and said you were a fan.
Yeah, I happened to be walking to my seat and I
You
was like,
happened to be.
yeah, and I was like, wow, is that Claressa Shields? I've always been a fan of her.
Yeah, I got a video he sent me back in 2000 and was it 20 or something?
So he's been a fan. You
I've been
get
a fan.
your moment to say, I'm a
see
fan.
Her, I see her, and when I went to shake her hand, I realized how beautiful she was. I was like, oh, wow.
Let's talk about something many people may have overlooked. During one interview, Claressa mentioned that she and Papoose had been messaging each other as far back as 2020. She explained that they exchanged videos and even shared poetry in their conversations. However, the story that was later presented publicly suggested that their first real connection happened years later, around the time of the Shakur Stevenson fight in 2024. Because of that, Some listeners felt that her comments accidentally revealed a much earlier connection than people originally believed. Another detail that caught attention is that, during that same period in 2020, Claressa was also communicating with Remy in a friendly way online, asking for advice and maintaining a cordial tone. When people look at those timelines side by side, they see that conversations with both the husband and the wife were happening during the same general time frame. This has led some observers to argue that the public narrative, which placed all the blame on Remy, might not fully reflect the complexity of the situation. Many discussions online have focused heavily on the claim that Remy cheated first. Comment sections across social media often repeat that statement without examining the order of events. However, others believe the situation deserves a more careful look. They point out that Remy's relationship with Easy the Block Captain reportedly began later, after significant issues had already developed in her marriage. From that perspective, some people feel that the criticism directed only at her ignores earlier problems that may have already been affecting the relationship. Another reason some people say Remy did not receive the same level of backlash is because of how she handled things publicly. Instead of posting daily updates, engaging in constant arguments, or turning every development into online drama, she appeared to step back and focus on her work, business projects, and personal growth. Supporters argue that this approach made the situation feel less like a performance and more like someone quietly moving on with life. In the entertainment world, where public reactions often shape public opinion, the way someone presents themselves can strongly influence how audiences respond. In contrast, the situation remained highly visible on social media due to ongoing posts, responses, and public statements from different sides. When personal conflicts play out online, they tend to grow larger than the original issue, because each new reaction brings more attention and more commentary. Over time, the focus can shift away from the actual timeline and toward whichever person appears most active in the public conversation. When people remove emotion from the debate and examine the sequence of events, the story becomes less straightforward than early headlines suggested. It appears that several boundaries may have been crossed over a long period, rather than a single sudden betrayal. That does not necessarily mean that only one person made mistakes. Relationships can break down gradually, with both partners making decisions that contribute to the final outcome. However, understanding when certain actions happen helps explain why different people interpret the situation in different ways. Another important point is that public backlash does not always reflect complete accuracy. Often, the person who appears to disrupt the image that people believed in receives the strongest reaction, especially when fans have spent years seeing a couple as a symbol of loyalty or stability. When that image changes, emotions run high, and the first visible change is sometimes blamed for everything that followed, even if the problem started earlier. Looking at the situation from a timeline perspective suggests that the public story many people repeated may have been incomplete. Instead of a sudden moment that destroyed a relationship, the evidence discussed online points to a longer period of tension, private disagreements, and emotional distance that existed before everything became public. Once those earlier interactions are considered, the debate about who acted first becomes less clear-cut. In the end, the conversation may not really be about jealousy or competition at all. It may be more about timing, communication, and personal boundaries that were gradually crossed long before the public noticed anything was wrong. When those earlier details are included, the situation begins to look less like a single dramatic incident and more like the final chapter of a relationship that had already been facing challenges for quite some time.
With Pat, everything I do, they're like, oh, she did this because of this person. She did that because of that person. If I wear my hair a certain way, if I wear some clothes, y'all say I'm copying somebody else. But then y'all say in the same breath, but she can't dress. Most of the stuff I go to the store and pick out myself and put it on. So I'm not copying nobody. But as far as in me rapping, go on my YouTube. I'm gonna put the link on here. I've been rapping for almost 3 years. I didn't just start this. I've been rapping. Why? Because I do what the hell I want to do. Like, I've been doing what I want to do forever. I got rap videos. I've been in the studio. I got songs. I had a listening party the week of my fight. I do what I want to do when I want to do it. Nobody's making me do anything. And I'm not trying to be like nobody because, baby, quote is original. The quote is original. I'm the first woman to ever use the word quote. I'm original in everything I do.
If you enjoy my commentary, please take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Even if you disagree, Feel free to share your thoughts because every opinion adds to the conversation. Stick around as well. You might return later and discover something entertaining, informative, or truly worth your time.